G'day guys, Andy here, Poverty Prospecting. I've got a bit of a cold, head cold. My darling wife brought it home from her work. I'm going to attempt to use this bit of gutter that I found on the side of the road, cut it up and make it into a little clean-up sluice for a good friend of mine. He hasn't got one, so why not? I'll have a crack at making one, and we'll get the grinder out, get the pins out, start cutting it up, and hopefully making a little clean-up sluice that he can use in his backyard. But we will be having to clean it up a bit. At least it's thick enough, it's square enough, and straight enough. Okay, sort of marked it out. All these bits with the X's on it, they're all offcuts, so I just want this piece basically. I'm going to keep the offcuts because I'm going to cut it, shut it, and make it into the header box that fits in here. So these bits will come in handy to make the header box, and then we'll have to make the sluice. So anyway, we're going to cut her up, see how we go. Okay, it's been cut with the angle grinder, but as you can see, beware, hot melting plastic on your hands. Yeah, not good. Now I'm cutting through after it's been cut with a knife and just trimming it off so it'll come apart. Okay, now that I've cut it out and I've trimmed it off, because this was found on the side of the road, it is actually covered in dirt and concrete, because I presume it was actually in situ in a driveway or something at some stage, so just clean it up a little bit. Got some sandpaper, just sanding off the crap. But I'm going to get these little tools in here and try and sand all this down. Try and do the edge so it looks half decent. I suppose I could go to a hardware. I could buy like a box section gutter. I could buy a downpipe, square downpipe in plastic. But then I wouldn't be able to call it gutter trash. Because gutter trash, I like to make stuff out of other people's rubbish. And I couldn't call it gutter trash if I went and bought it, could I? So anyway, we're getting into it. I'll show you how I form the header box, and we'll basically use a solenoid to plastic weld it in, and then we'll seal it with some black silicone on the inside and the outside and make it hopefully work and work well. Okay, now that I've cut it, sanded it, and made it look half decent, I'm now going to attempt to make the piece that's going to fit in here. I'm going to use this as the template and put it on top of the other bit, draw it, cut it out, and try and make it so it's a nice snug fit. Okay, now I've just marked this on a piece of offcut. I'm going to cut on the outside of the line and make it a little bit bigger, purely so I can sand it down to get it as a nice snug tight fit. I hope that makes sense. At least it's plastic, you can do that. Okay, as you can see with this, it's not quite a perfect fit. There is daylight between it, but I've got plenty of room to sand it down and to get it to fit snugly side to side. Give you a better look at it. There you go. Got to take a bit off the bottom to get this to come down and to get it to fit nice and square. Anyway, Jim's mowing's turned up to mow someone's lawn, so nice and noisy. But anyway, plenty of room to sand it down. I'm going to use the orbital sander on that to get it down and get it so it's a nice snug fit. Alright, cut down, trim down. It's a bit better fit. Still got a gap through it though, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going to use my solenoid to sort of plastic weld the outside of it, and then on the inside I'm actually going to put a smear of black silicone, so it'll seal anyway. Okay, I've got my little solenoid here. It's a Weller product. Had it for over 20 years, but she's fully charged, just been boosted up by the butane. Once this gets a really good red glow on it, the tip gets really hot. Takes a little while, but once that's going, all I do is I melt the end, just squeeze it over a little bit. So just bear with me and we'll have a crack at it. Hopefully you can see that. Yep. Right. Remember, it's going to be silicone on the inside, so it doesn't really matter about how perfect it is. It's only to give it a bit of strength, so it can hold itself up, basically. I mean, you can glue it, you can do all sorts, but this is the way I do it. You just use the tip, you just go along, and basically just gently press it in. Smear it over a little bit. I do it in dots first. And then you can actually go around it and gently fill all that gap in. You can do it with aldite or any sort of glue, I suppose, but this I found works quite well. Gives it a bit of strength, and then with the silicone on the inside, the header box becomes basically watertight. So I'll go around it now and smooth it all off. Alright, there you go, smoothed over with the soldering iron. Gives it a little bit of strength. It's not going to go anywhere, it's not under too much pressure. And then I'll put a bead of silicone on the inside, just to make sure that that's sealed. Then when the top goes on, and we put in the hose fitting at this end, and it pokes through here. Once the box on, hopefully we'll get enough water pressure to be able to run nice and smooth down the actual sluice. Anyway, next step. Alright, next part is I've got a standard sort of hose fitting, and I've got an adapter that screws into. I've got a PVC sort of plumbing fitting here that's going to, dropped it. And I'm going to cut a hole, get it to fit through like that, do it up tight, drill a hole through here, get that fit in there, push it through, do this up on the outside, add a bit of silicone around it so it seals and it's not going to go anywhere. So see how it goes. Okay, next step. Left this sitting in the sun for a while for this to dry out. Enough for me to stick it in the vise, put a pilot drill down it, and then I use the step drill, this here, to drill it out to this size. Also drilled out that hole so more water flow, but it's still going to go through that hole anyway. Now I'll also put an O-ring on here. We're going to smear it with some silicone. Then I actually used a brass tap fitting to tap a thread through here. So hopefully this will screw here through here. It'll have enough hanging out the end for me to connect this one on. And then that part's done, the actual water. Then we've got to make the top part with the gate for the water to flow out. Okay, on to the next step. I had to take the O-ring off because it didn't leave enough thread to poke out. So what I did instead was just smeared it with a shitload of silicone, as you can see on that. A little bit more. We'll get it to where I'm happy with it. A little bit more. Alright, there's enough silicone on the inside to probably seal that up. So hopefully this will work. It will start putting some silicone and fit the other fitting on the end. Excuse me, my blocked nose, but that should do it. It's got an O-ring, but I don't think it'll reach down there, so a little bit of silicone don't hurt, and we'll see how it goes. Thread tape as well, but it's about as tight as I'm going to be able to get it. But that should be enough. Next step, once this all goes off, is we'll make this baffle plate to come down and line up, probably just after where it's got the writing in the bottom here, so it'll be quite a big header box. But as I said, the header box is made to fit over here, silicone in, and to come down here and leave a gap so the water can flow underneath at a nice even pressure down the clean-up sluice. The beauty of silicone is it will hold the pressure, and if you ever get a blockage, it's going to be quite easy to cut it off with a knife to get it out, to repair it. Alright, next stage. Alright, made the cap, cut that out of the gutter from the offcuts, so just got a bit more trimming to do, make it pretty, put a decent gap there at the bottom because there's no gap there at the moment, and I try and always make them oversized. I can always trim them down after, but that's going to be silicone into place there, silicone at the side, round the back, down that side, but the gap at the bottom. Then that's your header box. Part 2 will be fitting and making the mat. So we'll get on to that in the next part. Cheers, guys. Okay, one gutter trash clean-up sluice almost finished. Just got to make the mats for it tomorrow. Let this go off overnight. Silicone this part, silicone that part. We've got about a 5mm to 7mm gap in there, hopefully. And we'll make the mats, and off it'll go to its new owner. Cheers. Hope you enjoyed this build. If you did, give us a like, give us a sub if you want to. But please, leave a comment. Cheers.